After 35 years as a federal judge, I hosted my retirement dinner at the Grand Wilshire Hotel in Los Angeles. Just before the toast, I watched my ambitious nephew, Derek, slip a white pill into my Cabernet. I pretended to drop my napkin and swapped our glasses. 5 minutes later, he stood to make a toast. I never imagined my celebration would become the night I discovered who Derek truly was. 3 decades on the bench had taught me to read people. I'd witnessed every deception imaginable: fraud, perjury, betrayal in its countless forms. But nothing prepared me for what I saw that Thursday evening. The ballroom held 52 guests. Fellow judges, court clerks, attorneys, and family members filled the candlelit space. Derek had organized everything: the flowers, the seating, even the 1985 Bordeaux I'd been saving for 20 years. At 39, he'd built a successful practice and married Elena, a kind woman who adored him. "You look distinguished, Uncle Thomas," Derek said, appearing at my elbow. "Thank you for arranging all this," I replied. His mother, my sister Catherine, had died 25 years ago in a boating accident. Derek was only 14 then. I'd never married or had children, so raising him became my life's purpose. I paid his college tuition, $2,800 monthly for 4 years, and attended every school play and soccer game. When he passed the bar exam, I cried tears of joy. The evening unfolded beautifully. Judge Morrison, my mentor at 84, spoke about integrity in law. My assistant of 18 years, Angela Chen, shared warm memories. I felt genuine gratitude watching these people who'd shared my journey. When we moved to our table, Derek pulled out my chair. "I ordered your favorite wine," he said, gesturing to the deep red liquid beside my plate. As I reached for my glass, something caught my eye. Derek glanced around nervously, checking who was watching. Then he palmed a small white object from his jacket. With movements so quick I nearly missed them, movements that suggested practice, he leaned toward my wine and dropped it in. The pill dissolved instantly, leaving only a faint fizz. Time stopped. The boy I'd raised like a son, who slept in the bedroom down the hall from mine for 6 years, had just poisoned my drink. "Shall we toast, Uncle Thomas?" Derek smiled, adjusting his cufflinks. My hand trembled as I reached for the glass, but 35 years of composure on the bench served me well. I had listened to murder confessions without flinching. I kept my face neutral while my world crumbled. "Yes," I managed, "a toast sounds perfect." Then I deliberately knocked my fork to the floor. The silver clattered against the hardwood, drawing brief attention. "How clumsy of me," I said, bending down. Beneath the tablecloth, hidden from every eye, I switched the glasses, his for mine, in under 3 seconds. The exchange was invisible to everyone above the table. When I straightened up, my heart pounded, but my expression remained calm. Derek raised what he believed was his own glass, actually the one he had poisoned. He announced, "To Judge Thomas Holloway, a man who gave me everything, who raised me when I had no one else, who taught me the meaning of integrity and honor." The irony was unbearable. He spoke of integrity while holding evidence of his betrayal. Several guests dabbed their eyes, touched by what they believed was a heartfelt tribute. Applause filled the room. Derek brought the glass to his lips and drank deeply, almost half the glass in one go. "Excellent choice," he said, savoring it. "Yes," I agreed, taking a small sip from my clean glass. "It certainly is." 15 minutes passed. The first course arrived. Derek continued his conversations, charming everyone at the table, but I watched him closely. Within 20 minutes, changes appeared. His speech became less precise. His gestures grew more expansive, less controlled. When he reached for his water glass, his hand trembled noticeably. "Are you all right, darling?" Elena asked, placing her hand on his arm. "Fine, just excited about the evening." But I saw confusion creeping into his eyes. He looked at his wine glass, then at me, then back at his glass. Understanding flickered across his face. 25 minutes after the toast, Derek excused himself to the restroom. He returned 5 minutes later, pale and sweating despite the comfortable temperature. "Derek, you don't look well," Judge Morrison observed. "I think I've had too much wine," Derek said, attempting a laugh that came out hollow. When Derek reached for his water glass again, his coordination failed completely. The glass slipped from his trembling fingers and shattered against his plate, sending crystal shards across the white tablecloth. The sound drew gasps from every table. "Call 911, Judge Morrison commanded. Derek's gaze met mine across the table. Full realization dawned. I had discovered his plan and turned it back on him. The sedative he had intended for me was now coursing through his own veins. "Uncle Thomas," he whispered, "I need to talk to you alone. Focus on feeling better first." "Something's wrong," he admitted. "Something's very wrong." Judge Morrison leaned forward. "Derek, are you taking any medications that might interact with alcohol?" Derek's face went even paler. His breathing became labored. "I put something in Uncle Thomas's wine," he finally confessed, his carefully constructed facade crumbling. "But he switched the glasses. I drank it instead." The collective gasp from our table was audible. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Angela sat back as if struck. The paramedics arrived within 8 minutes. At the hospital, Detective Williams interviewed me. "Do you know what substance he used?" "No, though the hospital tests will reveal that." "And you say the glass switch was accidental." I paused, weighing my words carefully. I dropped my fork and bent down. During that time, the glasses were switched. Whether that was accidental or intentional is difficult to determine. The detective studied me. If this was intentional retaliation, it could constitute a crime. I understand the law, but a man who tampers with someone else's drink bears responsibility for the consequences, regardless of who consumes it. Later, I sat beside Derek's hospital bed. Elena stood by the door, crying. "Why?" I asked. "The practice is failing," Derek whispered. $280,000 in debt. I thought if you had a medical episode, you might restructure your estate, give me early access to my inheritance." The cold calculation of his plan left me breathless. "I never meant it to go this far, but you were willing to risk it." I was a coward, too proud to ask for help. I stood slowly. "The police are investigating. There will be charges, and our relationship, as we've known it, is over. Uncle Thomas, I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't change what you were willing to do to the only family you had left." 3 months later, I sold my house in Pasadena and moved to Portland, Oregon. Derek received 18 months for assault with a dangerous substance. His practice collapsed. Elena filed for divorce. My new home is smaller, a 2-bedroom craftsman near Forest Park. I wake with the sunrise, drink coffee on the porch, and hike the Wilderwood Trail. 2 days a week, I volunteer at the county legal clinic. I've made new friends. Eleanor, a retired teacher, has become a hiking companion, and slowly something more. Derek wrote me once 6 pages of apologies. I read it twice, then filed it away without responding. Some bridges cannot be rebuilt. On a quiet Sunday morning, sitting on my porch, watching fog drift through the pines, I finally understood what peace felt like. The weight I'd carried for 30 years had lifted. I was no longer responsible for anyone's life but my own. And that freedom, I discovered, was enough.